Coming up on The Charge on Air. The Middle East is in turmoil again. We take a look at the current conflict between Iran, the United States, and Israel.
A new pledge has been signed between two big tech companies and the White House. What that means for electricity consumption in the United States.
Is 2016 really 2016 2.0? How a UCF event brought back trends from 10 years ago.
In sports, women's basketball season is over, but men's basketball is still competing, looking to bounce back after back-to-back home losses.
The Charge on Air starts right now. Good afternoon and welcome to The Charge on Air. I'm Luis Perez.
And I'm Kymani Brown. Today is Friday, March 6th, 2026.
Breaking news out of Washington. President Trump says Kristi Noem will no longer serve as Homeland Security Secretary. Trump making the announcement in a Truth Social post. Saying in part, Noem served us well and had numerous and spectacular results, Noem will now serve as the leader of a new security initiative Trump said will focus on the Western Hemisphere. Democratic lawmakers say the firing was a long time coming after 2 Americans were shot and killed by federal agents earlier this year.
She should have either been impeached or fired, and I'm glad that she got let go. She's terrorized American cities.
Noem's replacement is Oklahoma Republican Senator Mark Mullen. He says he will continue the sweeping immigration crackdown started by Noem.
We're going to get Department of Homeland Security making sure that we stay focused on protecting the homeland.
Mullen will serve as acting director until he is confirmed by the Senate.
American and Israeli forces launched strikes on Iran after diplomatic talks regarding the country's nuclear program failed. Charge on Air reporter Michael Shen updates us on the matter.
I call upon all Iranian patriots who yearn for freedom to seize this moment.
U.S. and Israeli officials say they have struck nearly 2,000 targets in Iran. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Kymani, died in the initial attacks. Iran is retaliating with strikes in Persian Gulf countries where the U.S. has military bases. UCF Political Science Associate Professor Dr. Houman Sadri teaches international relations with a focus on the Persian Gulf. He says that while diplomacy is ideal, it is not always possible.
But sometimes diplomacy doesn't get you anywhere, and the political leaders are under, certain deadlines that either they put on themselves or they feel like they're under, and then they move on.
This week, both chambers of Congress struck down resolutions aiming to limit Trump's military authority in Iran.
Article 1 of the Constitution says only Congress can declare war. However, Article 2 says the president is commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The original War Powers Act says that if the president does commit troops without prior congressional approval, they must inform Congress within 48 hours.
Farzan Farahmad is an Iranian UCF PhD student. He says he and his family in Iran are hopeful that U.S. involvement will create change.
I'm thankful for a vision that could decide the correct path and the correct course of action. And I think the removing of this current regime will benefit everybody.
The Iranian Red Crescent Society says 1,045 Iranians died so far. In Orlando, Michael Shin, The Charge on Air.
The U.S. government reported that 6 American troops were killed in attacks that targeted U.S. bases in the Middle East.
Another conflict has arisen in the Middle East amidst tensions in Iran. Israel has now launched retaliatory missile strikes on the Iranian-backed proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Shia Islamic Lebanese political organization rekindled its regional war against Israel after it launched low-intensity symbolic rockets and drones on Monday, according to Al Jazeera News. This comes after Israel and American forces took out Iranian senior officials like Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Sarah Al-Asmar is a UCF graduate student who was born and raised in Lebanon. She acknowledges that Lebanese citizens have got used to the numbers associated with war.
I think there's just always this collective feeling that we are just numb right now. We got used to it, so There's 24-hour drone in the sky. You're always listening to the drones, and then the bombs are happening. People are just desperate.
Lebanon's Ministry of Public Health reported Thursday that the death toll from the Israel-Hezbollah conflict has reached 102, with 638 injured since Monday, according to Al Jazeera News. We will keep you updated here at The Charge as the conflict in Lebanon unfolds. The Charge is staying on top of all the development in the Middle East. Coming up in the next 15 minutes, we're speaking with experts about the potential impacts to tourism in areas under fire.
A Cuban UCF student says her home country is struggling and change is needed. Charge on Air reporter John Warner spoke with a member of the Cuban UCF community to find out more.
I miss my country like so bad.
Gabriela Rodriguez says she lived in Cuba until she was 9 years old, and her dad's side of the family still lives there. She says the situation is not improving.
Even when they think, oh, it can't get worse than that, it does every single year.
U.S. restrictions on oil going to Cuba have caused food shortages and blackouts. Rodriguez says for her dad,
it's more worried about the fact that there's no food, that the light goes out every single day, and it's just difficult to get food and money.
U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham said Cuba is next, and experts say that all signs are pointing towards U.S. involvement in Cuba very soon.
Maybe there might be bombs dropped or missiles launched.
UCF political science professor Dr. Aubrey Jewett says the U.S. hopes that tightening up on Cuba will lead to organic change.
The thought is make things so miserable that the government fails, that the people riot and protest and demand change.
He says actions could intensify at any moment.
Maybe it is now going to go to that next level, like kidnapping the leader, like we did in Venezuela.
Rodriguez says she knows not many people get excited about the U.S. getting involved in Cuba. However,
seeing that things could potentially at some point get better does give hope to all of us here and the people in there.
At UCF, John Warner, The Charge, on air.
President Trump said yesterday the U.S. could take action in Cuba as soon as they wrap up in Iran. A spokesperson for UCF said students are encouraged to use campus resources like student care services and CAPS.
Electricity. Everyone seems to need it, and someone has to pay for it. Tech giants in America had agreed with President Trump to fully cover the cost of increased electrical production for their massive data centers, according to CBS. The pledge is aimed at mitigating concerns that these centers are driving up U.S. electricity costs for homes and small businesses. Now, companies like Oracle and OpenAI will be able to run their services for the development of technologies like artificial intelligence without much pushback, according to Reuters. Dr. Lotzi Belloni is a UCF computer science professor who researches AI and robotics. He says that the percentage of total electricity these centers use will almost likely increase.
Possible that nationwide, maybe by the end of the decade, you are going to have 10% or 20% of the total electricity generated in the United States to go towards data centers and towards providing intelligence.
Trump also stated that this pledge will make American electricity grid stronger and more resilient than ever before. To learn more about the pledge, you can visit whitehouse.gov. It's officially March, and I've been feeling the heat this week, right, Kymani?
Yeah, you're right. You're telling me, man. Let's bring in weather anchor Shane Winston. Shane, is Central Florida's nice weather officially in the rear view?
Yeah, if you're looking for another cold blast, you're not going to get it anytime soon. Let's take a look at those current conditions right now. Sitting at a warm 82 degrees, humidity 58%. Good breeze, though, 11 miles per hour moving to the southeast. And then we have that 15% chance of rain for later today. But the rain chances increase as we head into the weekend. I'll have that coming up in 15 minutes.
Coming up, we take a look at what some members of the UCF community are doing to celebrate Women's History Month.
But first, how the war in Iran is impacting the prices you pay at the pump. Plus,
I think my expectation is it will be safe, but 5 years is a long time in geopolitics, particularly in that region.
What experts say about the future of tourism in the Middle East, including the future of Abu Dhabi Disneyland.
Jason, Let's go see your room.
What do you think? We kept it a little spare, so you can decorate it how you like.
Dinner. Go.
Excellent. Sorry for so. Yeah, I saw you guys out there.
Being a cowboy, I don't know anything different from when I was 3 or 4 years old. I did tough things. I thought everybody needed to do tough things, and if you didn't, I didn't have time for it. I had a very successful career at a very young age, and life was fast. I was preparing physically. I wasn't doing anything mentally on the inside. And then I got hurt. I wanted to be better as a person, and I really dug into mental health. I start my day with 20-minute workouts. I live life 8 seconds at a time. Horses are so therapeutic. They know what you're feeling. When you're nervous, they're nervous. You won't say it back, but we're pals. I take a lot of responsibility in taking care of my kids, my family, and being there for them. You're gonna have tough days. Everybody does. Find a place to stop and just breathe. Love your mind.
As the war in Iran continues, UCF students are seeing higher prices at the gas pump. AAA says gas prices in Orlando are up 50 cents a gallon compared to this time last week. Just last night, prices jumped another 15 cents, now averaging $3.42. AAA says the national jump in prices follows the trend is rising crude oil prices, which now sit at around the mid-$70 range.
As the U.S. war with Iran, popular tourist destinations in the Middle East are being dragged into the conflict. As many Americans are still trapped in places like Dubai, some people are questioning the future of projects like Abu Dhabi Disneyland. Charge on Air reporter Shane Winston brought these concerns over to experts who say companies like Disney are well prepared to deal with safety concerns.
During the announcement of Disneyland Abu Dhabi, executives from the Walt Disney Company and Murrell described the joint venture as an advancement in the region's tourism efforts.
Bringing a Disney theme park resort to Yas Island, Abu Dhabi marks a historic milestone in our journey as a global family destination.
But now, an escalating regional conflict caused the country to receive a Level 3 travel advisory from the U.S. State Department. Ted Reynolds is the Director of Terrorism Studies at UCF. He says besides the defense contractors, no other company that works in Central Florida is more prepared to deal with the security risks than Disney.
People don't realize, they have counterterrorism experts that work for them. So I'm sure they're taking a good solid look at the region and when it will be safe for their employees to go there and to promote their venues to everybody, not just Americans.
Carissa Baker teaches the International Theme Park course at UCF. She says while conversations about immediate safety are likely going on, the plans for the park should move forward.
And you just always have to make sure your guests are safe, that your cast members are safe. I know that they're going to attend to that. Abu Dhabi in general, very safe, very nice place to visit in general, having been there in the past.
Reynolds says the outcome of the conflict will shape future travel recommendations.
And right now, I would say not a good idea. 5 years from now, probably going to be just fine.
Baker says she is excited to see what Disney's dreaming up for the new park.
But I do think it's going to be a really interesting park to go to when it opens, and I will certainly be there when it does.
In Orlando, Shane Winston, The Charge on Air.
Baker says ideas for the park could change as Josh D'Amaro takes over as CEO. We did reach out to the Walt Disney Company for comment and did not hear back.
March is Women's History Month, and there are ongoing events that members within the UCF community are hosting to celebrate. Charge on Air reporter Diego Ortiz looks into how women are being honored here on campus throughout the month.
With March being Women's History Month, various events surrounding the topic are going on at UCF.
At a meeting in which she was a guest speaker on March 5th, Associate Lecturer in Humanities and Cultural Studies Stacy DeLiberto used the example of La Borinqueña, a comic hero who uses her culture to empower other women.
More that students are exposed to what we would call mujeres poderosas, like strong women, especially when we think about superheroes in comics, you oftentimes think of the heroes, but not necessarily the heroines.
I had the chance to talk to Dr. Ann Brubrisky, the director of the Women and Gender Studies program here at UCF, and she said that Women's History Month is important because it highlights the overlooked women who have made a strong impact.
I'll just say, in all my classes, the past 15 years I've been teaching, students are always like, oh my gosh, I've never known about her. I've never known about this woman or how it related to their field. And I think that's just kind of a microcosm of the larger picture of just kind of women being left out of the story. People, and it's not even gender specific, are feminist in their actions and in their thoughts, but don't really have a word for it.
Dr. Brubrisky keeps this quote by Rebecca West in her office and in various women's events that she hosts. In Orlando, Diego Ortiz, The Charge on Air.
Students who are interested in attending events celebrating Women's History Month can visit nightconnect.com to find different activities clubs and RSOs are hosting.
UCF students are experiencing all the nostalgia, celebrating the trends that defined the internet in 2016. The Theme Campus event marked the 10-year anniversary of 2016, a year remembered for viral trends, music, and internet culture that dominated social media. Students gathered to relive some of those moments with activities like fidget spinners, the bottle flip challenge, and even attempts at the once viral mannequin challenge. Organizers say the goal was to recreate the energy that made the year memorable, bringing students together through shared nostalgia and the trends that once took over timelines everywhere. From fashion and music to social media memes, the event gave students a chance to reconnect with a moment in internet history that many say helped define online culture for the decade that followed. Well, March has started, but will nights feel a warm breeze of spring or an early hot summer?
Your hope to get to the beach sooner may be fulfilled. Stay tuned as we find out if you can break out your bathing suit sooner than expected.
For decades, I've taught you everything I know. How to safely build a fire. How to control the flames. What to do with hot coals. How to secure your chains. But I can only teach wildfire prevention. Only you can prevent wildfires.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
We'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella.
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Temperatures rose to start the week as Central Florida gets ready for spring and that sweet summer sting. Let's check in with student meteorologist Reagan Thomas from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University for a look at the national forecast.
Good afternoon, Ninth. So we will be experiencing a lot of weather this weekend. One thing to note is this cold front is going to be bringing most of that weather in and those different weather effects. A few of these things is going to be rain right in front, and meanwhile it's going to be super dry behind. As I mentioned, that super dryness, this is going to increase our wildfire risk. So behind this cold front and behind this dry line, it's going to be really gusty and not a lot of moisture, which is going to increase that risk for wildfires. However, on the other side of this cold front, on the other side of this dry line, we're going to have a increased strong and severe thunderstorm potential. So in this red area is going to be the best chance for those thunderstorms. But as we move out, the chance is going to decrease a little bit more, but there is still that large chance of thunderstorms. Up in New England, we're going to have the chance of snow up in the blue. And meanwhile, in the pink is going to be the chances of ice. There's a stark difference on Friday afternoon. We're going to have, in this purple area, record high temperatures. I know it's going to be super warm in Florida, so let's hear more about that at UCF.
Kymani, I don't know about you, but it is starting to get dewy and humid out there. The rising humidity and the heat index are only going to make it worse.
Yeah, typical Florida weather is about to spring back on us here at UCF. Let's check in with student weather anchor Shane Winston to see this week's upcoming forecast.
Yeah, guys, luckily we're not expecting to see any of that severe weather when it comes to heat or fire, but it is still going to be unseasonably warm. So let's take a look at those current temperatures up in Gainesville right now, 79 degrees, Palm Coast 77, down in Leesburg 79, downtown Orlando 81, Winter Haven 80, now on the coast, Melbourne 78, Tampa 79. So let's take a look at that 5-day forecast where we're going to see that heat is staying up in the upper 80s for most of the week. Saturday 84, Sunday 87, Monday 87, and again Tuesday, Wednesday 88, 89. Those lows are pretty consistent, staying at 67, only dumping up to 68 on Wednesday. Slight increase in chance of rain coming up this weekend, 22% on Saturday, 24% on Sunday. Smaller chances of rain as we go into the work week, 16% on Monday, 15% on Tuesday, 9% on Monday. But the heat is sticking around, so we are not expecting any winter blasts coming anytime soon. Back to you guys.
In sports, how baseball is getting ready for his weekend series against Murray State.
Plus, is men's basketball going to rebound tonight against West Virginia, or watch its March Madness stock fall even more?
Get back on the right track, and we're going to go play another good team in West Virginia that's very talented and well coached again. So we understand that, and we have to prepare for them.
UCF tips off against West Virginia and against the Mountaineers.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. And in our family, we're used to getting involved, and I encourage you to do the same, especially when it comes to caring for your loved ones. When I think about Alzheimer's and the impact it had on my family, I recognize that losing a race isn't such a bad day after all. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together.
it is at UCF right now.
What's up, Knights? Big week ahead in sports. Let's take a look at what's going on in Central Florida. UCF baseball is ready for their weekend series after a midweek victory at home against the FGCU Eagles. The offense erupted for 12 runs on 13 hits, beating the Eagles 13-5. The highlight of the night came off the bat of Andrew Williamson, who parked a no-doubter over the right field wall and broke the game open. Williamson says he's putting this game behind him and is fully focused on the weekend series ahead.
It doesn't really have to be pretty. So really just win and try to be elite and do our job on both sides of the ball. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it with the momentum that we have.
The 10-3 Murray State Racers are the last non-conference series for the Knights before starting Big 12 play. The weekend series against the reigning Missouri Valley Conference champions starts tonight at 6 p.m. at John Giuliano Park. The UCF women's basketball season comes to an end after a loss in the first round of the Big 12 tournament. The Knights lost to Kansas University 56-35 at the T-Mobile Center in Kansas. The Knights struggled to be efficient, shooting just 24% from the field. Kyla Ngodu tried to keep the team afloat on the defensive end, racking up 4 blocks with 10 rebounds. The team has yet to have a winning season since Coach Messier took over in 2022. The Knights now hold the record for the fewest points scored in a game in Big 12 women's basketball tournament history. The UCF men's basketball team is back on the road as it faces off against West Virginia tonight. The 2025-26 regular season comes to a close with a rematch. The Knights lost 74-67 the last time these squads met, following a 2-game home stretch that didn't give UCF the results they had hoped for. Coach Johnny Dawkins says he emphasizes the short-term memory of the losses, but also learning from the mistakes to make sure they are poised to hand West Virginia a loss this time around.
I don't keep up with any of that stuff. I just want to win the game in front of me. But the byproduct of winning games, gives yourself an opportunity, maybe to get buys or a bye or a double bye. I don't know the standings of that, but I do know we have to try to get back on the right track, and we're going to go play another good team in West Virginia that's very talented and well coached again. So we understand that, and we have to prepare for them.
Ending a losing streak, preparing for the Big 12 Conference Tournament, and building a resume for March Madness are all on the minds of the Knights heading into tonight. The Knights leave it all on the court as they set out to play West Virginia tonight at 8 p.m., followed up with the conference tournament just days later on Tuesday. Well, that's all the sports we have for now. Back to you guys at the desk.
That's all our time this week. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can always keep up with us during the week on thechargenews.com.
Thanks for watching and have a great day, Knights.